The world tilted sideways when the first gunshot ripped through the silence of our Brooklyn brownstone. I was 9, down in the basement garage, wrestling with Buster, our new golden retriever, when the explosion started upstairs. Bang, bang, bang. My blood went cold. Before I could even register fear, Uncle Tony burst out of the back door, a blur of motion, leaping into his Lincoln and tearing off down the street. Tires screaming. My little legs pumped like pistons as I raced inside, Buster barking wildly at my heels. The air inside was thick, heavy with the metallic tang of blood. Mom was sprawled in the hallway, her eyes wide and vacant, a crimson stain blooming across her chest. Dad was in the living room, slumped against the sofa, one side of his face a mangled ruin. And Lily, my baby sister just 5 years old, lay still in her bedroom doorway, a tiny doll broken in half, her bright eyes staring at nothing. A scream tore from my throat, raw and animal, echoing in the deathly quiet house. But no one came. No sirens wailed. No neighbors rushed in. Just silence, broken only by my ragged breaths. I stayed there, frozen, for hours that stretched into an eternity, Lily's small body cradled in my arms, her skin growing cold. That night, something inside me snapped. The tears dried up, leaving behind a hollow ache. By morning, I was a different person. I carefully laid out Mom, Dad, and Lily on their beds, tucking the sheets around them like they were just sleeping. Then I went to work. I found a backpack, small and worn, just big enough for essentials: underwear, socks, a Swiss Army knife, a spoon, a beat-up metal cup, a plastic bowl. I rolled up my old Mets blanket and strapped it to the bottom. Dad never trusted banks, always said they were vultures waiting to pick you clean. He'd stashed his cash in the basement, 2 shoeboxes labeled college fund, one for Lily, one for me. Over $100,000, easy. I took it all, and his .38 Smith & Wesson tucked under his side of the mattress. Then I grabbed the keys to the caddy. On the living room wall, in thick black marker, I wrote, "Uncle Tony did this. Why?" Uncle Tony, always the life of the party, the smooth talker with the slicked-back hair, Aunt Maria's golden boy, father of Vinny and Sal. None of it mattered anymore. I was too short to see over the steering wheel, so I stacked phone books on the seat and used blocks of wood duct-taped to the pedals to reach the gas and brake. It was clumsy, dangerous, but it worked. I pointed the caddy west, away from the city, away from the ghosts, sticking to back roads, the endless ribbon of asphalt unspooling before me. Oatmeal packets and canned peaches from the pantry kept me alive. Gas station bathrooms were my showers. Parking lots became my bedrooms. I kept moving. Fast. Dumb move. Not taking more clothes. I needed a change. Something clean, while I washed the grime off what I had. Outside Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, I blew a few bucks at a Kmart on a plain t-shirt, jeans, work boots, a denim jacket, and a Yankees cap. In a laundromat bathroom, I scrubbed myself raw while my new clothes tumbled in the dryer, then washed the old ones, the ghosts of Brooklyn clinging to the fabric. That's when I saw it, crumpled on a table next to the folding machines. A newspaper, a few days old, and there I was, staring back at me from page 3. my fifth-grade school picture. My stomach twisted, but I forced myself to keep reading, keep moving. The cap and jacket helped, made me look bigger, older, less like a runaway kid. Dad always checked the oil and water before we drove out to Uncle Sam's farm upstate. This trip was way longer. The caddy was thirsty. Down a couple of quarts of oil. Radiator needed water, but it kept chugging mile after mile until Ohio. That's where the old beast finally coughed its last, right outside a diner in some nowhere town. Before I abandoned it, I ripped off the license plates, stuffed them in my pack. Slept one last night in the caddy, then bought a Greyhound ticket to Chicago. The bus station was a zoo, full of faces I didn't trust. But I didn't have a choice. Before boarding, I ducked into a hardware store, grabbed a hunting knife, some beef jerky, heavy-duty tape, plastic wrap, and a roll of paper towels. I bundled most of the cash in plastic, wrapped it tight in the towels, and shoved it deep into my backpack. The knife I taped to my belt under my jacket, handle within easy reach. Finally dozed off on the bus, lulled by the rumble of the engine. Then a big hand clamped down on my backpack strap, yanking me awake. "Give it up, kid," a gravelly voice hissed in my ear, "and you won't get hurt." Giving up wasn't in my vocabulary anymore. Not now. Not ever. Without hesitation, I ripped the knife from my belt, plunged it deep into his gut, right up to the hilt. He let out a strangled roar, fist raised to strike. I stabbed him again, higher, aiming for his ribs. His breath hitched, eyes wide with shock, and he doubled over. I shoved him away with my foot, watched him crumple to the floor, a wheezing mess. Wiped the knife clean with napkins from the diner across the street, stuffed them down between the seat cushions, and went back to sleep. Next stop, an old woman with kind eyes and a weathered face shuffled onto the bus, settled into the seat next to me. She eyed me for a long time, rocking gently as she knitted. Finally she spoke, her voice soft, like rustling leaves. "Going to see your folks?" "They're dead," I mumbled, staring out the window at the blur of passing cars. "Killed." Her brow furrowed. "Who would do such a thing?" "Uncle," I said, the word tasting like ash in my mouth. "Why?" "Why?" The question echoed in my head, unanswered, a constant gnawing ache. I shrugged, rolled up my sleeve, showed her the bruises blooming on my arm from Buster's playful bites. "She was cold," I choked out, my voice cracking. "Dead. There wasn't a damn thing I could do." "So you ran?" she asked, her gaze steady, unflinching. I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. "Ran." She patted my hand, her touch surprisingly strong. "You did what you had to." Silence settled between us, thick and comfortable. Then, without looking at me, she said, "You can come with me if you want. Got a place upstate, middle of nowhere. Farm. Raise food for market." "Farm?" I echoed, the word a distant memory. Ever lived on one? "Uncle Sam's got a dairy farm," I blurted out, surprising myself. "Upstate. Helped pick rocks, bale hay, drive the tractor, shoveled cow manure. Can you work?" "Yeah," I said, meeting her gaze for the first time. I can work. A faint smile touched her lips. Good. If you can work, we'll do just fine. Stepping off the bus in Albany felt like walking into a furnace. It was only April, but the air was thick and heavy, the city shimmering in the heat. Mrs. Rodriguez's farm was tucked away in the Catskills, miles down winding country roads, a world away from the city. The farmhouse was old, built of stone and timber, cool and dark inside. A well dug deep into the earth provided water so cold it stung your teeth. I spent my days on a beat-up Ford tractor, tearing through weeds with a cultivator, the sun beating down on my back. When I wasn't driving, I was fixing fences, hauling hay, doing whatever needed doing. Mrs. Rodriguez had another worker, Sammy, who handled repairs and cooking, a wiry man with calloused hands and a quiet smile. "Glad you're here, kid," Sammy said, clapping me on the shoulder. "Keeps me off that damn tractor." I had a small room to myself, bare and functional. "Keep it clean," Mrs. Rodriguez warned. "Bathroom, too. I'm too old to clean up after a young'un. You do your part, and I'll do mine." She kept her word, fed me, clothed me, never asked questions about my past, never threatened to send me away. School was in town, a long bus ride each day, but I kept to myself. One look in my eyes, and people kept their distance. Fine by me. I went to class, did my work, came home to the farm. When harvest came, the farm exploded into life. Migrant workers arrived in beat-up pickups, filling the fields with noise and motion. For a month, it was a whirlwind of activity. Then, just as suddenly, they were gone, vanished like morning mist. Everyone except Mrs. Rodriguez and me. Afterwards, I plowed under most of the garden, except for the root vegetables, stored away for winter. Under the relentless sun, my skin tanned dark, my hair bleached almost white. If not for my gray eyes, I could have passed for one of the migrant workers. For Christmas, Mrs. Rodriguez gave me a .22 rifle. Proud? Damn right. I did my best to bring in rabbits for dinner, but Sammy wouldn't touch them unless I skinned and cleaned them first. Then the woodchucks moved in, burrowing into the fields, destroying the crops. I built towers out of scrap lumber, 8 feet high, positioned them around the perimeter of the fields. Before dawn, before school, all through the long summer days, I was up in those towers, the .22 resting across my lap, picking off woodchucks one by one. Mrs. Rodriguez raised an eyebrow when I kept asking for more .22 rounds, but she always bought them. Slowly, surely, the woodchuck problem disappeared. When I turned 16, Mrs. Rodriguez started paying me $100 a month. Gotta learn how to handle money, kid. I didn't spend a dime, saved every dollar. I also started paying attention to how Mrs. Rodriguez planned the plantings, staggering the crops so they didn't all ripen at once, giving the migrant workers time to harvest everything before it spoiled. She knew what she was doing. Early mornings, I'd spot deer grazing at the edge of the woods. One day, I stuffed my wallet with cash, asked Sammy to take me to town. "What you after, kid?" "Rifle," I said. "Saw some deer." "Okay, what kind?" "Savage bolt action, .270, I told him, remembering Dad's old hunting rifle. Something like that. That'll do, Sammy nodded. We'll get you taken care of. First shot, the new rifle felt like an extension of my arm. Instinct took over. Sunset, sunrise, the deer would come down from the hills, lured by the vegetables and cornfields. Within a few seasons, the back wall of the barn was lined with deer hides, stretched and drying. There was a place in Albany that bought hides. Sammy and I made trips a few times a year, his truck bed loaded with pelts. Paid for my clothes, boots, ammo, school fees, still left me with savings. One day Mrs. Rodriguez asked how much I was getting per hide. Next day, she was fuming. "You're getting robbed," she snapped, and marched me to a different buyer. Damn, was I glad she did. I made more than 4 times what I'd been making before. Ended up saving over $4,000 a year just from hunting. We ate the venison. Mrs. Rodriguez made stew and jerky. The hides I sold. The carcasses I left for the coyotes. I did my best to maintain the fences around the property. 100 acres, easy. Didn't want to wear out the tractor, so I rigged up a military pack frame with a shelf to carry a spool of wire, gloves, staples, pliers. At first, fixing fences was slow work, but over time, I developed a rhythm, a shuffle that ate up the miles. One morning, Sammy drove the truck around the perimeter, measuring with the odometer. 26 miles, he announced. Just kept putting one foot in front of the other until the job was done. After high school graduation, diploma in hand, driver's license in my wallet, Mrs. Rodriguez sat me down at the kitchen table. "So," she said, her eyes sharp, "you gonna go find your uncle and settle his hash?" I motioned for her to wait, went to my room, grabbed an envelope. Inside, a newspaper clipping. Thomas Tony Putam arrested for murder. He'd been sleeping with the victim's wife. Harold Carter, living with his partner James Evans for 9 years. Evans reported the crime. State police reopening cold cases linked to Putam. Mrs. Rodriguez read the article, then put it down, her gaze searching mine. "You got it out of your system?" I shook my head, looked out the window at the endless fields. Afraid not. Got too much unforgiveness built up inside. "Wrong time, wrong place, it'll be a storm," she murmured. "Safer here. Safer for you. Safer for others." "What about Sammy and you?" "Ah, hell, kid," she sighed, a weary smile touching her lips. "I'm your dog, and you know it. I'd hold still if you felt you had to put me down." She rested her head on her arms, mumbled a prayer. Then she looked up, her eyes suddenly bright. "You've been taking critter hides left and right. With a few college courses, we could get you a good-paying job as a state game warden." "Game warden?" I echoed, the idea catching me off guard. "Tracking, boy." "You know tracking?" I shook my head. "I know a couple of Mohawk guys who'll teach me, in exchange for venison for their tribe." "Do it," she said, her voice firm. "Get some experience under your belt. Solid wilderness training. You'll be a shoo-in. Come Monday, we'll see what classes you need." She found grants for orphans, low-income students, enrolled at SUNY Albany, moved onto campus as a freshman. Years of reading paid off. Tested high, even tested out of college-level Spanish. Working with the migrant workers had made me fluent. At a farm auction, I found an old pickup, an '89 Chevy crew cab, long bed, half-ton. Looked like hell, but under the hood, it was clear someone had taken care of it. Put in a bid, bought it for $700, ran smooth as butter. On campus, I met with the maintenance supervisor. Used to working for a living, I told him. Appreciate a basement room in return for whatever needs doing. He scratched his head. You been working up by Catskills? I nodded. Mrs. Rodriguez's place. You worked for old Mrs. Rodriguez? My blood boiled. Don't call her old around me, I growled, stepping closer, or we're gonna have words. Halfway across his desk, ready to rearrange his face. Hold on, fella, he stammered, backpedaling fast. Didn't mean nothing by it. Well, I did, I said, staring him down. Better not have anything more to say, lest I pound you in like a fence post. Walked out. Found a furniture store owner willing to hire me as a live-in night watchman. Set me up with a travel trailer in the loading dock. Hooked up sewer, water, electricity, ventilation. $100 a week. He saved $1,000 a month on insurance. We both made out like bandits. University wasn't thrilled about my off-campus housing, but I made an appointment with the dean of students, dressed in my best suit, told him my story. He leaned back, impressed. You hooked up with Mrs. Rodriguez's place? Yes, sir. She took me in when I was 9. Wants me to take courses to become a game warden, maybe even state police. Good plan. He nodded. But watch yourself. Don't want to cause trouble. Hell, I got plenty of woods, a shovel, and I know how to use it, I said, deadpan. He chuckled. Oh, Christ. Mrs. Rodriguez done raised a Marine. That night, campus phone lines were buzzing, but I didn't care. I had work to do. Less exciting than fence lines, but 50 miles closer. Just like high school, I went to classes, did my homework, took my tests, went home. Home. Still felt strange calling it that. Friends? None. Felt lost without chores after school. Store manager noticed me hanging around looking restless, pulled me into his office, showed me the warehouse schedule. Say, if you want to load and unload these trucks, according to these clipboards, I'll pay you for it. How much? He got squirrely. You know I've been straight up with you, I said, my voice low. He snorted. All right, damn it. I paid 2 guys $8 an hour each for an hour to load or unload a truck. $16 a truck. I'll pay you cash. You'll have to teach me how to back up and navigate these semis, I said, or I'm an accident waiting to happen. Good man, he grinned. Better you bring it up now than after an insurance hit. Come Saturday, I'll show you all you need to know. Grew up doing everything here, I said, shaking his hand. Saturday, I learned to hook up, back up, and park a semi-trailer, operate a forklift, read a warehouse manifest. Unloaded and reloaded 4 to 7 trailers a night before heading back to my trailer. Nice cash. Used the college computers to research career options. Game warden. Harder to get into than state troopers. Switched my coursework to criminal justice. Did ride-alongs with the Albany PD. Evenings, EMT night courses. Worked on my speed at the track. Improved my PT. Summer between freshman and sophomore year, I learned to track. Told the Mohawk guys I was going into state police, needed to track people. changed everything. They taught me secrets, ancient skills. Nobody ever caught me sleeping again. Trained me to look at nothing and see everything. Damn hard. Couldn't do it until they slipped me some peyote. After a while, it became second nature. Walk into a room, I saw everything. They had me sketch what I observed, details most people missed. Winter before graduation, I bought a Glock 22, .40 caliber. Spent hours working on target recognition, accuracy, every position imaginable. Standing, squatting, turning, prone, even on my back. No matter what, I hit what I aimed at, even if thrown into a corner with broken legs. Graduated with honors, applied to the state troopers, academy at 21. By 22, I learned just how political the job was. Hated it. Applied to the U.S. Marshal Service, deputy marshal, passed the competition ladder, Georgia for training school. Academy was relentless. Videotapes, tests, how to do everything, even showering, tying shoes. Watch a movie, take a test, repeat. Some movies I watched 2-3 times, knowing I'd miss something. Kept at it until I ran out of movies. Then they partnered me on missions. My silence unnerved my trainer. "Don't you have any questions?" "No," I said. "If you want me to know something, you'll tell me. If you screw up and don't tell me, that's on you, not me." Shut him down. He looked at me like a rabbit staring at a hawk. Got a different trainer. He talked me through everything. Targets history, past crimes. More I learned, the more armed and dangerous I became. Success rate climbed. Runners saw me, saw the Glock, saw the look in my eyes. Fight went out of them. Asked one of the tougher ones why he gave up so easy. "You're a stone-cold killer," he said, his voice low. "Could see it in your eyes. Didn't have a chance." 10 years in the field, bringing fugitives back. Canada, Mexico, backwoods of Montana, Maine. Didn't matter. Got them. Usually alive. Lived frugally. Service covered travel, uniforms, per diem. Paid for rent, utilities, insurance, food. Sock away my earnings. Then the psychologist decided I wasn't fit for field duty. Service listened. Discharged me with a medical. No military, no police force would hire me with that psych profile. Bought a Dodge Charger, police package, from the service website. Low mileage, garage cleared it. Signed the separation papers. Drove back to New York. Not exactly legal, but I handed in an old ID. Kept my current one tucked away. Mrs. Rodriguez died while I was gone. Drove up the driveway to desolation. Farm shut down, irrigation pump off, fields dry, desert reclaiming the land. County courthouse, I found out she'd willed the farm to me. Never said a word. Guess she cared. Her lawyer held the deed, keys, access to an account, a letter for me. Appointment to see him. 4 years. Her account covered property taxes. Lawyer hired a cleaning service, cleared the house, emptied the fridge, pulled the breakers, locked it up. Power. Phone back on. Cleaning supplies. Headed back to the farm. Unlocked the gate. Drove in. Wind never stopped. Parched my lips. grit of dust. Unlocked the farmhouse, stepped inside. Familiar sights, smells crashed over me. Home. If anywhere was home, this was it. Dropped my suitcase, raised shades, opened curtains. Back porch, reset electrical panel. Compressor in the kitchen hummed to life. AC unit outside kicked on. Turned it off, cleaned filters, restarted. Cooler air filled the house. Water pump gurgled, filling sinks, toilets, showers running to fill traps. 5-year-old jar of instant coffee, pot of water on stove. Nothing. No gas. Propane company number and old phone book. Still in business. Ordered 500 gallons. No hot water until tomorrow. Made do. Vegas that night. Dinner, hotel room, cleaning service for the house in the morning. Federal ID to buy rifles, pistol, goose gun, shotgun. Home. Ready. Holster for the Glock. Ammo, cleaning kits, Hops number 9 dry lube, Savage 22 Magnum bolt action, iron sights, Browning 30-06 bolt action, Redfield scope, used one in service, sidearm, Glock 22. Vegas picked up a poncho to cover everything in the back seat. Dinner, Glock in hotel room, rags, cleaning kit. Thorough once over. Shoulder holster adjusted. Tucked it away. Bright and early. Informal suit. Shoulder rig concealed. Breakfast. Vegas never sleeps. 6 a.m. felt like 6 p.m. Sheriff's office on the way back to the farm. Applications. Psych profile iffy, but never shot an unarmed man. Never fired first unless civilian danger. 10 years tracking fugitives, honed instincts. Application. Sheriff's office in turmoil. Commander at odds with Union, replacing troops, still providing services. Shoe-in? Maybe. Early afternoon, kitchen. Water heater operational. Cleaning crew tornadoed through the house. Washing machine overtime. Bedding, curtains. Rugs rolled, ready for town. Afternoon in machine shed. Dust devils, air compressor. Tool rack, hydraulic ram kit. Jaws of life training. Federal certifications. Nevada training credit. Tractor dead. Gasoline donkey engine rigged to the drive shaft. Dangerous. Needed a new one. Implements serviceable. Planter beyond saving. No local paper covering ag needs. Co-op elevator for used equipment. Auctions. Evening, kitchen table. Vegas radio. Request for records. Bank books, balances. Half duffel bag of cash from a narcotics bust. Missed during final sweep. Providence. Count it. Stacks of bills. $553,000. Nest egg. Cash only for major purchases. Bills. Fuel. Traceable accounts. Counterfeiting. Narcotics finance courses. Cover tracks. Grocery runs. Gas. Clean money. Everyday expenses. Record. Finally, the letter. Irene. Sure like to be a fly on the wall when you got the news about the farm. Hope you enjoy living there, don't sell it off. Box of warranty papers in my bedroom closet. Irrigator contract, long way to go yet. Be careful cleaning out my bedroom. Pack rat for a long time. Love you, kid. Irene Rodriguez. Laughed, cried, Old Mrs. Rodriguez wrote by me even at the end. Next morning, sheriff's office call. Head office, 8 a.m. Arrived early, ready. Background check run, certifications retrieved. Governor signed off on cross-posting. Box on the desk. Captain's bars. Cased badge. Sheriff Gillespie's smiling face. Where do I sign? Handshake, straight to business. Uniform, duties, breaking away from the union. They need to understand we, not the union, determine discipline. Officer on leave, fired. Our call, not theirs. Nodded. Then arrest them for interfering with an officer, obstructing justice, interfering with a law enforcement case. Lawyers show up, search them. Carrying on premises, charge them. Judge pushes back, censure by State Judicial Conduct Board. Escalates, call the FBI. Sheriff Gillespie leaned back. Divine intervention. Thanks for listening. This story wasn't over, was just getting started.